everybody. Good to see you. Is this working? I never know if it is. I think it is. Okay, good. Hello, Star Flurry coming at you. I'm Nancy. For those of you who don't know me, well, you know, or aren't familiar with me, and my headbands are always crooked, so sorry. And it's so backwards all the time, I never know which one to pull down. There we go. So anyways, hi. Nancy at Star and Flurry coming at you. I'm back. I've been gone for a while for many reasons. All of them good reasons in my mind. So I'll just launch off with that. I've got, I'm going to take this down just a little bit more. First of all, I want to acknowledge my real fire in the background instead of my fake fire. And that's my first story. So, oh my God. We do have some tarot coming up, but I have to tell a story. Couple stories coming at you first. And by the way, there was somebody in the comments the last video that said that they wanted to listen to me for an hour while they worked out. And I was like, I don't know if I could do an hour video, and I don't know. I think you'd be the only one who might appreciate it. And then I decided that I really should come on here. I didn't really have a tarot thing to talk about, but I thought I have other stuff I guess I could talk about. And as I started to write this stuff down, I'm like, oh my God, workout person, I'm here for you. But I'm gonna try to cut it off after about a half an hour. At that point I just get long-winded. At least that's how I feel. So anyways, thank you for that comment. It was so sweet. So many great comments, and God, I'm so excited. I think I have 65 subscribers, which just astounds me. I mean, my goal was like 10. So it's kind of fun to feel like there's a group of folks out there who are who love tarot, and who also I guess, enjoy a story and a rant and whatever. One thing, so two things I wanted to say is I'm going to try to start and I don't know if I probably should start. Yeah, I'm together. Trust me. Here's an outward example of the carnival going on in here. I thought it would be fun to start. I printed out a questions to ask to get to know someone. And I printed it out, and there's like 50 or 100 questions, and they're astounding. And I actually tried to do a video based on those, and then it was just like, I can't. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start my videos with one of those questions. And I'm also going to start my video with a fragrance thing, just a little one, tell you what I'm wearing and why. So what I'm wearing today is Coco Noir, and it's new to me. Now, I've been a Coco Mademoiselle boss girl for a long time. As I say, a lot of people call it, oh, it's so flowery and lovely. No. I remember the first time I smelled it, I was like, whoa, what the frick is that? It's a, I can't hear you. Your perfume is too loud kind of fragrance, at least to me at that time. But I was in my 40s at that point, but I was still kind of new to fragrance and not a very experienced nose. And not that you get experience, but I think you get more, you begin to understand the nuances of different fragrances, and you begin to learn how to respect pieces of fragrances, even if you don't like the whole, it's like listening to a symphony and you really like, I was just going to say act one, but you know what I'm saying. You really like the first part, and then the rest of it, you're like, I can blow that off. Like, I used to go to a lot of operas with my dad. My dad loved opera. Oh, here's a good story. So my dad loved opera. And after my mom died, that was one of the big questions was, what is he get? What am I going to do now about the opera? And I'm like, well, what do you need to do? And he goes, well, I've had, 2 tickets forever. And this is the Portland Opera. They are exceptional. And the seats he had were glorious, and they were pricey. And he just felt like, it wasn't, he had to let him go. If it wasn't him and mom going, then, what was the value? And I said to him, Dad, I was in Seattle at the time, but I had a fairly, at that time it hadn't been, the company was still kind of moving along well. and I had a lot of freedom over my schedule. I was in charge of me and my department, and that changed over time, but at the time I was. And so I was able to take these, I could take these 3-day weekends. He had tickets on Thursday. My days off were Friday and Saturday. So I found a way to I could take a day off if I wanted. So anyways, I got ahead of myself. But anyways, I said to him, so, well, what if I came down and went to the opera with you? And he just started laughing. I mean, my dad, he loves laughing, but this was a loud guffaw. Like, blowing me off. Basically saying, Nancy, you hate opera. And I'm like, I have no idea where that's coming from because I don't know whether I like it or not. So I said to him, what makes you say I hate opera? And he goes, well, the last time you went, we went to La Boheme, you were like a nightmare. You hated it. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't even remember that, but how old was I? He goes, you were 8. And I'm like, well, Dad, tastes mature. Give me a chance. Well, I said, don't get rid of the tickets, season tickets. Don't get rid of the season tickets just yet. Give me an opportunity to reassess my assessment of opera, if you please. And he goes, I would love that. Come down, 2 weeks from now. It's and I think it was Rigoletto. I'm almost positive that was the one. And so I brushed up on my opera, and not on the music part of it, but just the story, because operas are just wackadoo when it comes to stories. And what they call the libretto, which is basically what do you call it? The script is all over the place. I mean, it's kind of astounding that it's still around, in my opinion, because it's so out there. But anyways, so I did my study and blah, 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 and it came down, and off we went to the opera. And I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. We went out to dinner ahead of time. That was a funny story too. Man, here I am. I'm 25, 30 years in the restaurant business. And about the 4th time, we always would go out to dinner and then go to the opera. So about the 4th time we're doing this, we get into the restaurant and we go to sit down, and he's like, no, you're sitting over here. Because I would always go to the seat where I could see the restaurant. That's just how I roll. That's what I must do. That's what I do. And he goes, no, you're going to sit with your back to the restaurant. And I'm like, first of all, it made me uncomfortable because I don't think I just did it because I wanted to see what was going on, but I don't like having the world going on behind my back. But he goes, you're not a particularly fascinating person, Nancy, when you are surveying the restaurant, because all you do is tell me what's going wrong everywhere. And I'm like, I do? And he goes, yes, that's the conversation. Ooh, table down on here. Oh my God, the servers. Oh my God. He goes, that's all you do. So I want your back to the restaurant this time. And I was like, okay. So I had my back to the restaurant. We had a beautiful evening, and I realized about maybe 20 minutes into that how right he was. First of all, I was having far more fun being with him, having conversations with him that didn't revolve around my work. Because when you're staring at your work, that's all you talk about. Even if it's not your spot, it's the genre, and you have a million things to say about it. And so we switched that, and so we kept that pattern going from that point on. Anyways, back to the first opera. So we went out to dinner. We had this beautiful opera. And I said, there's no punchline or anything coming, but I just said to him, so I love this. Can we keep doing it? And he just lit up. And yes, we can keep doing it. And so for the next, let's see, I'm trying to think when that happened. It was shortly after Mom died, which I think was 2008. So for up until at least 2015, so 7 years, we went to 4 or 5 operas a year, and it was great. And it got to the point where my cousin had said, if you're enjoying the opera, you need to go get this book. And of course it was out of print, so I searched, found it on Powell's, got it sent to me, or actually I found it at Powell's, I think. And it's a great, I can't remember the name of it, otherwise I'd say it, but it's a great book that kind of goes over the stories, tells you what to look for, blah, blah, blah. So our routine before we would go out to dinner was I would open up this book, leave to the correct opera, and then we do a little lesson. Because Dad at that point he had macular degeneration. It was very difficult for him to read anything. So I would read him this, and we'd mull it about and talk about it, and then we'd go out to dinner with with my back to the restaurant. We'd go out to dinner, and then we'd go to the opera, and it was just delightful. And it was some of the most special moments I've ever spent with my dad, and I'm so thankful I'm so thankful that he brought opera into my life. I'm thankful that he gave me a second chance. Lessons out there. Just cut, your 8-year-old hates something now, they won't hate it later, or just don't ever not give them a second chance, I guess is what I'm saying, because it truly became a love of mine. And every once in a while, not a lot, because it's still very emotional for me to listen to opera because it's just so associated with him. There's a couple of things that are in my life that I have a very difficult time approaching or going into because of that. Because it's still kind of raw. I mean, he died, 5 years ago, but it's still, he was my touchstone. I miss him. I miss him every day. But anyways, so listening to opera is tough, but every once in a while I'll get the hankering, and I'll just either Google something, or do something on YouTube, or I have Sirius and I'll throw on the Met Opera. Oh, there's nothing like driving long distance with opera just freaking blaring in your car. It's just, it's astounding and amazing. Anyway, so I don't know how I got off on that story, but was that a question? Was that the question? I don't think it was. Oh, I was talking about the fragrance. Ooh, Nancy not staying on task. Oh well, that may be what we're doing today. So, anyways, fragrance of the day is Coco Noir. Mwah. I never understood it, and now I love it. And the dry down is freaking amazing. So even if you spritz it on and you're like, ooh, I can't handle it, let it sit there for a little bit. When you spray on a fragrance and you hate it immediately, we in the community call it a scrubber. You get out your scrubby green pad that you do get the really tough stuff off your dishes. You bring that out, liquid detergent, scrub it off your arm. That's a scrubber. But Coco Noir may give you that. Coco Mademoiselle is the same way. Pardon me. That if you feel like it's a scrubber, I encourage you to, to weather the storm. Ride it out if you can. Because the dry down is remarkable. And as I said, I'm new to Coco Noir. I remember sampling it ages ago, and I just, but yesterday I heard a perfumer a perfume reviewer that I really respect, perfume reviewer who I really respect, and she was going on and on about Coco Noir, and I thought, you know what? Chanel, by the way, I'll try it. And nobody had it in where I live because I kind of live in a small city, so I just what we call a blind buy. It's where you decide that you're just going to bite the bullet and give it a try. And so I blind bought a small bottle of Coco Chanel. Oh. It came yesterday, and I've been reveling in it ever since. It's so wonderful. And it's one of those things where, like, even last night, I climbed into bed, and I was like, God, what is that? You just catch this whiff, and I'm like, oh, that's me. It was, well, not me technically, but it was the Coco Noir. So, anyways, give it a shot. That's the fragrance of the day. So the question of the day is going to be, what type of music are you into? So, and I'm going to scratch it out now that I've asked that one. What type of music am I into? I was a gigantic Jackson Browne fan. I grew up. The first birthday present I ever talked my parents into allowing me to get for my brother, because they were technically paying for it, was a Jefferson Airplane LP Surrealistic Pillow. So that dates me. So what was I, 12? 13. I was in that kind of genre. So even though I was a little too young for the late 60s, kind of the Beatles, and I never cared for the Beatles. Sorry, don't come after me. I have come to highly appreciate them since. But at the time I wasn't a big fan. I didn't even know what they were when they came on Ed Sullivan. My dad was like, "Are you gonna go? Okay, you're gonna come down and watch the Ed Sullivan show with me?" And I'm like, "Why? Is Topo Gigio on?" And he's like, "No, the Beatles are on." And I'm like, and all I could imagine is Beatles, like Bugs. And I'm like, Beatles? And he's like, "Have you not heard of them?" And I had not. I had not. So anyway, so I watched them, and I was just, it was, I mean, all you could hear was the screaming. It was not a particularly fun show to watch, and I didn't have any more feelings about the Beatles than I did when I started watching that show. So, and I had girlfriends who just went nuts for them, and I just didn't get it. Eventually I did, but I just, not then. Well, eventually, I mean, in my last 10 years or so. Not recently, for sure. Anyways, I mean, not then when I was younger, for sure. Anyways, I listened to a lot of my brother's music, Dave Clark 5, Jay and the Americans, Beach Boys, Jefferson Airplane, and then he kind of graduated into more stuff that I didn't get, but he turned me on to what's his name, Lou Reed. Oh, I love that. They had an album, but I can't even remember the name of it, but it was just, there was a song in it called The Pusher Man. I had no idea what that was. Loved it. Loved that song, loved the music. And then it was later on where I was like, dang, I can't believe my parents let me listen to that. Oh my God. And then they discovered Herman's Hermits. So Peter Noone was my absolute favorite, to the point where they were coming to a concert in Portland, which of course my parents would not let me go to because I was like 12. But I sent a letter to Manchester, England, to their fan club or whatever. I don't even know how I got the address. Back before the internet, who knows? Probably in the back of an album or something. But I wrote them a letter and invited them, the whole band, to dinner at my house before the concert. Yeah, I did that. Think about it now, and I'm like, oh my God. But, of course, they never answered. Well, they didn't answer to that, so they played and whatever. I never heard anything about it. But like 2 months later, I get a letter back from the fan club. And somebody had hand typed it and just said, it's one of those, man, I wish I'd kept it. I don't know where it went, but it was basically, thank you so much for the invitation. Unfortunately, we won't be able to make it. We have a lot of, a lot of things to do, places to be, and people to see, but we really appreciate the invite, and thanks for being a fan. And you are now a full-fledged member of the Hermits fan club in Manchester, England, which made and it came in an envelope with British stamps. It was freaking amazing. Yeah, so that's my early years. As I grew older, you get into, what can I remember in not, I was going to say high school, but yeah, Steppenwolf, The Doors, that whole genre. And then when I got into college, basically folk music. Folkish music. I wasn't a huge Joan Baez fan, but I love Jackson Browne. I love the Eagles. The Eagles literally are the soundtrack of my life. That's as well as Jackson Browne. Until he got kind of a little bit more political than not because I lost interest in his politics, but I wasn't ready at that time for politics in my music. And so I didn't, shine him on for that reason. I just I lost interest in that particular part of the music. But Jackson Browne, the Eagles, Van Morrison, all of those are just my top people, and they still are. But I am learning. I've learned to listen to, on Sirius FM, by the way, they have a what do they call it? I can't think of the station, but it's old rock and new rock. Well, I don't know, rock. Let's just call it music. So it's a blend. What the heck's it called? Oh, I wish I knew the name of it. But I started listening to that because I felt kind of sheltered musically, and I wanted to know what the kids were talking about, and so I started listening to that and found myself really enjoying it. Like Bono's son is a member of a group called the I can't remember it now. I can't remember, but anyways, he has a that band I think is very good, and they have some very good songs. The one song that they played a lot this summer, kind of sick of it and over it. But anyways, growing in that direction has been nice for me, so I appreciate that. But basically, I'm a folk rock, folk country, country folk, country rock, but not heavily country. I did have a moment of country when I was working in a country bar, and you just kind of have to be sucked into that genre, and it's not half bad. So I'm not going to knock it. They always tell a story, which is really, to me, that's what makes country music interesting. They tell a story. Each song tells a story, or at least hints at the story. Leaves the rest up to you. So I really enjoy that, and I'm a big back at the time I was doing that would have been the early. Let me think for a minute. Late 90s, early 2000s, just when country was kind of starting to go mainstream. So people like Garth Brooks, George Strait, who else? I mean, people like Carrie Underwood weren't there yet. I'm trying to think. I can't think of the names of the folks, but anyways, really amazing singers. The Judds probably came up in all of that. But I love the stories, and I came to appreciate that genre of music a lot more than I ever had. And probably ushered into it by the Eagles, because they had quite a country side to them, especially in their second album, I think it was. Anyways, but my deep love is Jackson Browne, and always will be. And he's I love following him on YouTube because he is amazing. David Crosby is another one. He may be an asshole, or maybe it's the other people who are assholes. I can't quite figure it out. And I'm so sad he's gone, because I just really discovered his older self, and I really, really am so glad I did. He's a remarkable vocalist, number one, and a remarkable songwriter, and it's sad that whole CS Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young just didn't pan out, but whatever. So that's the question of the day, fragrance of the day. We got those out of the way. Okay, so I want to do a shout out to Thea at Garden. I can say this, Garden Goddess Tarot, who did a really interesting take, and I'll link her down below. Today, just tarot tips, and it's really it was fascinating. And it's not about how to read the cards. It's not she was very clear about this. It's not an educational thing. It's not going to become an educational thing. But I just want to talk about, little tips that I think might be helpful to newcomers, of which I am one. And what I appreciated the most, or a lot, was she said, "You are always learning. Don't ever think you got it down, because you do not." And boy, I got that. So it seems like every door I open, there's 50 others beyond. And beyond those 50 doors are 50 others. It's amazing to me, the paths you walk down when you open that first door of tarot. But one of the things she talked about, and I want to find it here, so I had to make a note because I didn't want to forget about it. Oh, she says, I think it was tip number 4, maybe, I can't remember exactly, was there are no bad decks. And she talks a little bit about that, and then she goes back and she goes, and there are no best decks. And she kind of walks along the path of, if you're trying to find that best deck, it's the Holy Grail. You're never going to find it. There'll always be another. I'm paraphrasing. She didn't say this, but they always say there's only another door that's going to open, and there's 10 doors behind each of those doors. But she's absolutely right. And one of the most interesting things that's going on right now, and it started with, in the previous video, I talked about the Deck and Walk, that I'm on that path with Marlena Teresa and others, and Dawn Michelle, and in her Facebook group is a lot of people doing the Deck and Walk, and it's really fun, and it kind of really allows you, which is really hard when you're dealing with a deck of 78. It's really hard to just focus in or try to focus in on one card without kind of wanting to understand them all at once. But the what was I just gonna say? I lost my. So in learning about the Two of Wands in the first deck in Aries, it opened me up to giving a whole lot more respect to the standard Smith-Waite tarot deck. I have apparently done everything in my power to use decks that maybe that tip their hat to RWS, nuance, rework it a little bit, everything in my power. But when it comes down to it, the bottom line is the RWS is the ride or die deck, and I am just figuring that out because really so much stems from the imagery and that whole thing. And I'm so appreciative of that. And when Thea said, there is no best deck, I was like, dang, you have got that down for sure. You are on this for sure. Because it's she's absolutely right. And I feel like I've been on that. I think I mentioned this when I talked about the first decade, where I was kind of starting to question my own want regarding tarot decks, and I'm still on that heavy path. So kind of rethinking that whole thing. And I'm appreciating it. I feel like I'm downsizing in a good way. I'm simplifying, getting rid of the fluff and kind of bringing it into, and it's interesting because when I was a banquet director, that was our restaurant was a very specific restaurant. What we did was very specific to the Pacific Northwest. That was a mouthful. And my job, 9 times out of 10, was somebody would call, like I mentioned, the lady with the chicken dinner. Get the call and say, hi, we want to plan a thing, and they would come in with their arms wide open. This is what we want to do, the rainbow of what we want to do. And my job was to get them to bring their rainbow in to the sliver within which we excelled. And that was my job. My job was, well, first of all, I always said, get me on the phone with them and I will reel them in. They set the hook, I'll reel them in. I'm a closer in that regard, always when it comes to that. But then secondly, it was reeling them in. Their ideas are out here. What we do well is here. And my job was to bring their way of thinking here. Wasn't always easy. But in the long run, I don't recall any really hard, tough talks. I think the chicken lady was the hardest. The toughest part of doing that is when you have somebody like a chicken lady, is all they want to do after, once you've kind of roped them into the fact that this is the way it's going to be. It's like the next step is that their job is to micromanage what you do. And that can be... I have a whole story about that. I'll talk about that later because I could go on forever. But yeah, so there's that. So Thea's talking about that, and she's absolutely right. And so that's kind of, it doesn't mean I've stopped completely buying decks, because I just saw an RWS that's done in almost watercolor. It's beautiful. The Hue Tarot, right? So I did order that because I'm like, oh God, luscious. But so I think I'm gonna kind of be smarter about it's not being smart. It's about being mindful of the decks that you're bringing in. What are you really going to work with? Because in terms of the studying, I'm finding that the RWS is the study. That's the decks I should study. Those are the images that I need to pay attention to. And every time I get one that isn't in that genre, I end up kind of pulling one out to clarify for me. And it's like, well, why don't you just use this deck? What this is an art. This is a this is Smith's deck. Just use it. Why are you clamoring to use all these other decks? Now, with that being said, there isn't one deck in my collection. There isn't one that I would get rid of. So I've got family coming, which I'm very excited about in about a week, and my entire tarot world was existing in my living room because it's where I live. But I'm like, I don't need to share that entire world with my family. And I'd been meaning to do this forever, which was to wrangle all these decks and move them up to my loft, which is where they belong. And I've always thought they belong there, and that's where they reside in my mind. But physically, they did not. And so that was a task. But I got it done, and I'm so excited because I feel like I've got breathing room down in my living room once again, and in my spare bedroom once again, which is really, really nice. So yay for that. So the story about my fireplace, I'll get to tarot in a second. The story about my fireplace is that part of the reason I brought in the fake fireplace because my real one is just too freaking hot. Flames and blower and all this. And I spent a long time trying to figure out if I could control the flames. And eventually, I find a freaking 1 minute and 30. I looked everywhere, could not get an answer. And then I find a YouTube video, 1 minute and 38 seconds. My rule of thumb with instructional videos on YouTube is if they're longer than 2 minutes, then walk away. You'll find something better. But this was 1 minute and 38 seconds, and the video goes up. It's like a guy at a party. I mean, you can hear the party, glasses clinking, people chatting. It's a whole thing going on behind him. And at some point, he must have been in a... the only thing I could figure is that he was chatting with somebody who said, yeah, I have one of those, and I can't figure out how to turn the flame down. And he's like, oh, I'll show you. And then his buddy goes, it's that simple? You need to make a video, YouTube, about that. And so that's what the guy did. So literally, the camera comes on, it's a little jiggly, and he goes down and shows you exactly how to turn the flame from high to low. Now, I've made calls to heating guys. I have looked everywhere. Never could get that answer. And here I get 1 minute and 38 second, I think it was, video at a party of a guy showing me how to turn my flame down. So I was very thankful. So I turned the flame down. It didn't do anything because it's still blowing and hot. And the thing is, I really enjoy having a fire at night, but I don't like getting too hot. I just know. I like 68 degrees. That's where we're happy. So I figured that out after 2 years. Then, but it's still too hot. It's just too hot. So I kind of got on the bandwagon a couple of days ago, and I was like, there's got to be a way. I wonder if I can turn the blower down. Is there a way to turn the fan down? So, of course, I can't find anything really, but I got down underneath it and searching with a little flashlight, searching. I finally see a little dial. I have no idea what it is, whether it's gas. I'm guessing they wouldn't have gas on it, just an easy reach dial, but you never know. But anyways, it was turned up, so I went in, I turned it down as far as it would go, and I could hear the fan blower go down. I was like, yes! So it went down to nothing. Just a little bit, which was safe. Normally it's so now it's, and I'm super happy. But after an hour, it still got too hot. And so I started thinking about it. I thought, I can't believe I can't turn it off. Can I turn it off? Is there an on-off button? On and on and on. And finally, I get down there like, there's got to be an on-off button. Again, my flashlight, my magnifying glass, because I can't get low enough from the reader part of my glasses to read any of the fine print on any of the electronics in this thing. So I get my magnifying glass out, my flashlight, and I'm down on my knees and I'm looking down. And here's this little fan switch. And I'm like, I wonder if it's just one that kind of turns off. So it was on the lowest setting, but I flipped it one more thing. Click. Off. 5 years it's taken me to figure out how to turn the fire off or turn the blower off. So that's off now. I did do a research to find out if it's okay to run your gas fireplace without the blower, and it absolutely is. And now, so now I've got it. So here it is. I've got it on its lowest setting, no fan, and I can actually sit here and talk to you without dying of heat. So I'm very excited about that. So that's my fireplace story, and I'm sticking to it. So anyways, I was going to talk about a whole other stuff, but I think I'm done. What I wanted to do tarot-wise is to talk about, I think it's Waves of Your Soul, I think. I don't know if it's a specific tag going around, and if it is, please correct me. But it's underrated decks that you find that you enjoy that you feel are underrated in the tarot tube community, and I've got a few. The first one is the Lazy Crow Tarot. This is the back of the box. Lazy Crow Tarot. And I know that people have talked about this deck as being simplistic and cartoonish. I don't know what they're talking about. I think the art in this thing is exceptional. It's so interesting. So that's the Fool. Yes, these are in order because I put them in order. The Magician. I just think the art is so... Look at this priestess. Oh my God. Look at the moon over her head. Oh, the Empress. So simple and yet so powerful. And look at the two different faces. Oh my God. Hierophant. I will have you. I will control you. I mean, these are just really, really, really exceptional. What's this one? Oh, the Wheel. Look at that. So, just a highly underrated deck, in my opinion. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful art. Just sandbox art and words by Nicholas Cragoe. Cragoe. Lazy Crow. In the front of the box is this, which is also the back of the deck. Just stunning, not edged. Absolutely stunning. And I think this deck needs to get more its dues because, Jeebus, it's beautiful. It's stunning. Another one that I don't see talked about a lot is the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. I see it pop up every once in a while, but not very much. And it's so cool. It's so cool. Now, granted, the artwork's a little, I was going to say dark, but I don't mean dark in a ominous way. I mean dark in a light way. Yeah, that didn't make any sense. So dark in a lightness kind of way. So Knight of Coins. And you see how the cards are a little dark. Knight of Cups. Get over here. But these images are just stunning. 10 of Cups, in my opinion. Isn't that beautiful? Look at those cups over the house. Oh, I love the Ace of Wands. I mean, again, very RWS, but 6 of Swords. Isn't that stunning? Look at that. Oh, my God. It's just, I just want to be there. The Emperor. Chin out. In control. The Ram at his beck and call. Yeah. Page of Cups. Look at him. Oh, my God. Just precious. So, beautiful deck. Oh, gotta show this one. Strength. So, yeah. This deck is so cool. I don't know if I showed the back, so let me do it again. But, yeah. So, it's called the Slow Tarot. And it comes in a really nice box. And it comes with a little stapled, little teeny tiny. It's not a white book, but it's a brown book. A little brown book. But it's an exceptional, in my opinion, it's just exceptional. I love leafing through it. I haven't read with it a lot, but, you know. The other one is, I think Don Michelle is a fan of this deck, but I just don't see it out and about that much, is the Slow Tarot. And it is by, I'm sorry, not the Slow Tarot, the Stretch Tarot by J.E. Stretch. Backs are just fun, reminiscent of, well, Fyodor Pavlov, so it's a little reminiscent of this deck. This one came out a lot quicker. And this one I think is a bit of a collage deck. Is this full? Yeah. These are in order as well. I put them in organizing all my decks and moving them all upstairs. Any ones that I opened, it was something in my brain that said you need to put these in order. And so I spent like most of 3 days just putting decks in order, which was oddly soothing. I don't know why, but anyways. So Magician, also the cover photo for the deck, the High Priestess. Oh, that face is just like, I so have it together. I know what's going on. The Empress. The Emperor. Hierophant. All the majors. And the lowers, which you just love that one. So, let me get it. This is not a pip deck, by the way. It has a bit of pip going on, but not in a bad way. It does have always has an image, 6 of Cups above it. Mostly kind of old photographs, 7 of Cups. What are they doing? Oh, we've had too many cups, and it does have keywords. This one's the 7 of Cups is temptation. The 8 of Cups is abandonment. Anyways, this is a stunning deck, and I'm surprised I didn't see more of it showing up in the tubes, in the tarot tubes. The other, so did I show that one already? I did. The other one that I absolutely love is the Terrafauna. If you're into animal decks, this one is sitting out on my deck or on my desk because I absolutely adore it. These are not in order. I should show you the backs. Here's the backs. Death. So the suits are renamed Knight of Rocks. Obviously Pentacles. Oh, God. A grizzly with salmon in his mouth. Oh, my God. The Emperor. King of Torches. Torches, obviously wands. 8 of Torches. It's like they're playing a deck, like playing a card game. The Hermit, I love the hair. Let me get into some of the... Yeah, so this is, again, not a pip deck. But it's not necessarily RWS in that regard. The Tower is just impactful. I live on the east side of the Cascades, and so fire is always a big concern during the summer, and that makes that card very impactful. So the Terrafauna is created by Devin Strickler and Brittany Burkhardt. Brittany Burkhardt. And it's just... I can do this. It's a marvelous deck, and it's underloved in the YouTube community, in my opinion. I just don't see it show up that often, and it should show up more. So I love it. And the other one, and this is more of an, I don't even want to call it an oracle, but it's and I got turned on to this deck by Simon at the Hermit's Cave. And it's called Cartes Divinatories D'Algariel. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know if it's it sounds Italian, but it might be French. I don't know. And by Alcide Nathaniel. There's the front of the book. I put the author's name there. Yeah, so I think it's French. But they also have English. They have French. The white book is in French and in English. But it does not come edged. I edged mine in a kind of an antique brown, which I think turned out quite lovely. I don't do a lot of edging. These are the backs. Key to your soul. But basically these are very. I don't think now, I was kind of young when I bought this. I don't think of this as a Lenormand deck at all. But let me dig into the introduction. These cards are made to be used by novices as well as more experienced people. They can help you know about your future, address your concerns, but also train your intuition and contact the realm of spirits. Its dark and richly symbolic imagery can guide you at every step of your life in good times and bad. May the divinatory cards of D'Algariel guide you on your life journey physically and spiritually. So yeah, it's not Lenormand based at all. It's just a card of divinatories, and I just think they're so beautiful, and so interesting. And we'll pick one of these out so I can read you. So let's do this one. Look at that lamplight. Isn't that gorgeous? I don't know if it's a good thing or bad, but let's look. 21. 21. Oh, wait, is that right? Yes, 21. The riddle. Mystery, unveiled secret, thoughts, judicious thinking. Divination. The riddle represents forgotten or obliterated memories. Ooh, that reminds me of Hermione. Wiping herself from her parents' memory. That was such a sad scene. Okay, anyways. The riddle represents forgotten or obliterated memories ready to be rekindled. It announces family secrets, cover-ups, and troubled times. You must find another way to illumine the situation. And it also has a past lives reference. Resolution of a problem, ending of a story. Isn't that interesting? Let's do another one. Just the one on top. 3. So it's kind of like a Phantom of the Opera mask. So let's see what that stands for. Hold on. This is so interesting. I used this a lot when I first got it, but I don't think I was adept at really understanding how to read things, and so let me put this up. Okay, so here's the card, and it says the helmet. Obstinacy, strong personality, certainty about events. Divination. The helmet represents certainty about events. It is also the symbol of affirmation and mind. However, the helmet is a neutral card. It also has negative aspects such as lies, deceit, and treason. Past lives, fighter, important person, battle. So I just find this fascinating. Anyway, it's just a stunning deck. I'm so glad I edged it. It comes in a beautiful box with a purple ribbon. And there's not that many. I mean, it's not teeny tiny, 32 cards. But it's beautiful, and they're a lovely size, and they come in a beautiful box. The packaging is exceptional. And if you can find this, I don't know who the printer is. It's right here, but I can't. Arana Dakra. I can't read it. But anyways, yes, do that deck. It's very cool. So going back to my notes, is there anything else I want to? Oh, I was going to say I was listening to somebody's thing the other day about my zodiac sign, and they said be very conscious of looking for numerology is going to be important right now, and there's significant things coming through for you. So be aware. And today was so bizarre because I went to do something and I looked up, I could 222. And I was like, ooh, I don't see that very often, 222. And I did whatever I needed to do. I came home, went to check my email, and the clock that came up was 333. I was like, that's cool. So anyways, that's what I'm up to. I might try to squeeze one more video in before my family arrives. But I had so much kind of organizing to do. My house is in better shape than it's been since I moved in 5 years ago. It's amazing what a family visit will do for your motivation. But all I could say to myself all day was, I'm so happy. I'm so happy I did this. I'm so happy. So I've only got one more thing to do tomorrow. and they're not coming until Tuesday, so I'm just really happy I had the jump on this and everything's all set to go. So anyways, I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and good workouts if you're working out, and it's just so much fun to do this, and thank you so much for being here. It's really, you have no idea how much I appreciate it, and thank you for subscribing, and like if you like, and subscribe if you like, and aren't subscribed yet. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Star and Flurry out.